G'day guys, Dale here from GottaBTrippin. Welcome back again. In this video I'm going to do an overview of the pros and cons of the time I spent in Albania. Stick around and I'll let you know everything I thought was fantastic, everything that was theoretically a con but is certainly on the improve regardless. So overall I spent from the last week of August through to the last day of October in Albania. In that time I spent a couple of weeks in Tirana, the capital city. I then went over to Durres, which is very close to Tirana but it's on the coast. Spent 3 weeks there. Tripped on down to Gjirokaster, spent a week there, and then spent the last month or so in Saranda, down on the southern coast. So a bit of a variety of places that I was at, everything from the capital city and the metropolis that comes with being a capital city, through to 2 coastal locations and 1 incredible historic town. So in all of that, what did I find to be the pros and cons? So I'm going to run through the pros first, and then I'll get to the cons and talk about whether those cons are really cons in the bigger picture. So first pro number 1. So as a slow traveler, one of the things I liked about Albania is it's an extremely relaxed country. There's no time pressures. I take my time. I have days where I'm traveling around looking at things. I have other days where I'm just kicking back at a cafe, enjoying a coffee and doing a bit of writing or preparing a video. So the relaxed nature and the friendliness of the people. I got to the point after a while in Durres, for example, I'd walk into a cafe and the girls behind the counter would look up and they'd even already be saying, "We've already got your coffee on the way, we've already got your pastry that you like," because they've seen me walking down the street. That's the kind of atmosphere that I really like about Albania. You get that level of recognition and acceptance. It's also a really safe country. Every country has its pros and cons as far as safety goes, but Albania overall is pretty safe. I didn't feel at any time that there was any great degree of risk. I am aware of some issues that have happened in the time I was there, but they were the sorts of things that would happen in your home city. So from a safety perspective, it's really good. Also, apart from a couple of towns that are particularly hilly, most of the places are really comfortably walkable. The paths can leave a bit to be desired from time to time. It's not technically a con, but it's just otherwise it's a really walkable place. Obviously Saranda is a very hilly place and so is Gjirokaster, but certainly Tirana and Durres, extremely easy to get around just by walking. Some of the things I really loved about Albania is just the beauty of the place. Tirana being a capital city, you'd think, oh, it's a big capital city, what's the beauty there? But smack in the middle of it, there's this amazing bushland park called Tirana Park. Right on the edge of the local neighbourhood, which is the neighbourhood I'd probably stay in again if I went back there. A really nice place to go and spend a day just walking around. If I'd known it was there a bit earlier, I probably would have gone there several times just to have a relaxing day, take my computer with me and kick back and enjoy the day. When you get across to Durres, there's the coastal environment and all the beauty associated with that. So definitely a really nice place to be. And then, wow, go to Gjirokaster. Just the trip to Gjirokaster, driving through those valleys that must have been formed by ancient glaciers. They're big, wide, level-based valleys with massive, great big mountain ranges on either side of you as you're driving in. Then the town itself, incredible place. Beautiful structures, beautiful architecture, an amazingly well-preserved castle. I spent a week there and honestly, it's just an incredibly beautiful place. And then I went from there to Saranda. And the first thing I noticed in Saranda, got into my apartment, walked straight out to the balcony, and what a view. So Saranda is also a really picturesque coastal area, but you can stand in Saranda. You don't even need to be up very high or at all, and you can look at all of the view of Albania, and then you can see Corfu, Greece, on the other side of the water. So the views pretty much wherever you are in Albania are incredible. The other really big pro for Albania is it's a country that's just loaded with history and culture. Everything from the Roman history, the communist era history, the food, everything. There's just so much to see and so much to absorb and enjoy about the place. It's still it's still developing as far as how it promotes all of that sort of thing as a nation, but it's only been open to tourism for a fairly short period of time in the relative scale of things. Definitely, absolutely amazing history and culture in the place. And the final pro, and probably last but definitely not least, probably one of the big pros for a traveller, particularly a slow traveller, is the affordability. The accommodation is very well and truly affordable. The food, the drink, just all the experiences that you can do, really, really affordable. So overall, the pros absolutely outweigh the cons and make Albania a go-to place for short trips through to longer-term slow travellers. Quick little interruption to the content, just to put a bit of an appeal out there to you. If you're watching this video and you've gotten this far through, you must be enjoying it. Please consider clicking like, subscribe if you haven't already, and what would be really cool is if you gave me some thoughts in the comments below. Have you been there? What do you think about the place? Have I given you all the information you need? What sort of information would you like to see in future videos? Don't forget, comment, like, and definitely subscribe if you haven't already. Cheers guys, back to the content. So unfortunately every destination has its cons. So we have to talk about them, but some of these cons with Albania are really simply because the country is still developing. And what I'm talking about there are things like its waste management system leaves a bit to be desired, and I don't know that culturally people are as concerned about rubbish and litter as we might be from some of the other countries around. Certainly Durres is a particular city, my favourite city in the country, but it has a very big problem with litter. When I went to video the turrets or the old bunkers up on the hill behind my apartment, I was really disappointed to see that they were actually chock-a-block full, like pressure packed full of litter. It's like someone's decided to clean up the litter but just stick it in the bunkers, and of course it's just really sad to see that. Also, sort of related to that is some of the infrastructure. Depending on where you are, I hate to say it, but particularly in Tirana and particularly in the older areas of Tirana and the neighbourhood I stayed in the bazaar, there's some serious need to do something about the plumbing. There's a sewer smell in that area, which is there pretty much 24/7. It's not in some of the newer areas. If you're going to stay in Bloku, beautiful place and definitely doesn't have the same issue, which is why I said earlier on that's where I'd stay in the future. One of the other real cons in Albania, or two of the other real cons really, are associated with getting around in the country. The first one, I've done a video on this as far as the scams that I faced as far as bus transport from city to city. Now, the buses themselves range from really good big 48-seater buses down to your 9-10-seater transit vans. Some of them are extremely good, some of them aren't, but you can get really caught. So check out the video I've linked up above to give you a bit of an idea of the scams that you can face getting around the country. Also the same with taxis. There is a taxi app. Well, actually there's two taxi apps. There are also other non-aligned taxi, or pseudo taxis I suppose you'd say, where it's just some random guy in a car and he doesn't have a meter or anything like that. And you can get ripped off pretty damn quick with those guys. So just be careful of that. The other one as far as getting around in Albania is the driving. Holy cow, the driving is incredible in Albania. I've never seen anything like it, and that includes, I was just in Vietnam before Albania, and wow, Albania is a lot worse. It doesn't seem like anyone takes notice of the rules. You'd see police all over the place. In fact, I've never seen more police in a town than I have in pretty much every town in Albania, but I never once saw a traffic stop. And seriously, I also very rarely saw people obey the traffic rules. They speed, they drive on the wrong side of the road, they mount the curb. If they're driving along and there's nowhere to park, but there's a little bit of a gap between one car and another, they'll just right angle park and have the back end of their car poking out in traffic. They don't care. So it's kind of weird like that. I hired a car, linked video above for that little experience as well, which I was comfortable with because I'm pretty comfortable driving anywhere. But if you're not a confident driver, I would not recommend driving in Albania. It's definitely putting your life in your own hands. So that's a big con. The next big con is the dogs. Albania is known for stray dogs and effectively becoming wild dogs. They're effectively stray dogs that have been abandoned by their owners, and they're still breeding out on the street and becoming wild. Overall, sometimes it can be kind of cute, these cool little dogs that will come up and big dogs. But I've also seen situations where the dogs turn into a bit of a scrap in the middle of the street. This happened in Gjirokaster while I was there, right in the centre of this really popular spot for tourists to mill around. I saw one tourist make the mistake of trying to step in to break it up. Really dumb move. You'd never break up a dog fight unless you know what you're doing. And of course that tourist then had to back out. Hell of a hurry, because the dogs started to have a go at him. So just be careful of the dogs. Some of them look really cute, but there's a bit of a safety issue around the dogs in Albania. My final point about cons in Albania, and I saw it in every city except Gjirokaster, so Tirana, Durres and Saranda, is the high volume of begging. Now, I get it that people need to make a living and people need to get by. Totally understand that, but a lot of it was scam begging. I mean, this lady in Durres was classic. She was, every day she was outside. There's one particular Mexican restaurant on the promenade. She'd be outside it every single day with two very young kids. One looked like she was about 6 and the other one was well and truly a tiny little toddler. And she'd be out there every day. And she was always on a crutch, and she'd be faking the crutch, like, I can't get around. But she actually lived just behind where I was staying, and I'd quite often see her coming back at the end of the day with a crutch thrown over her shoulder and just barreling along like you or I would walk. Not a problem in the world. Just be careful of that. The biggest problem with them is they'll send their kids to you to try to get their kids to beg on their behalf, and that's pretty uncool. So that's a real downside to everywhere I've went in Albania except Gjirokaster. I'm all for giving people a hand, but there's better ways of doing it than that. So that's a social infrastructure thing. So if you think about all of those cons, the begging, the dogs, the traffic issues, all of those things, they're all social and community infrastructure things. And as the country develops, those things will settle. And there'll be less and less of it. I'm not saying they'll go away, but that's why I say that they're cons, but they're cons for now that won't be cons in the future as the country gets more used to tourism and as the country earns more money from tourism. So those are my pros and cons from my perspective. Other people may have different perspectives about Albania. Overall, I love Albania. It's definitely on the list of countries that I could move to and apply for residency and stay at, particularly in cities like Durres and probably also Saranda. I've done almost 3 months in the Schengen zone by the time I've recorded this video, so Albania is on my list of places to go back to and spend another 3 months in and go to some of the places I haven't been, because there's a lot to see in Albania. So stick around on the channel for that, because in a couple of months' time you'll start seeing Albania videos pop up on the channel again. Thanks for watching, guys, and catch you in the next video.